Hello and welcome to Ildefonso Inc. Today we have another great episode of Mothership Gear, hosted by my friend Chris Darley. He's a guitar player with Father John Misty, a music producer and a songwriter, and he invited his friend Loren James, who's now a friend of the show. This is now their second episode. This one is on an incredibly rare guitar. It is a Gibson V-12 1960. This is probably the most rare guitar we've had on the show, and it's a really special one, and it's running through a Fender Deluxe Brownface 1962. So Chris and Loren will talk about both the amp and the guitar. We have a bonus episode coming where we focus a little bit more on the amp, and they run the amp really hot in that bonus episode. So hope you guys enjoy it, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below, and we will now go to the episode.
Ready to go.
Yeah, sweet. So this is the next guitar. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, this was another fun find. You never know when you're gonna get a guitar or where you're gonna get it. This was purchased from an estate. Someone's uncle had passed, and he posted online a bunch of blurry photos, one photo each of I think like 5 or 6 pretty cool 60s, 70s guitars. And this one stood out to me the most, so I ended up selling off the rest of them over a couple of years and kept this one. This is it's kind of hard to date it. I think it's a late 60s V-12 Firebird, so it's the reverse body, 2 mini humbuckers. This one's a little special. They only made, I think, 273 or 270 something of this 12-string guitar in the reverse. But this is only the third one I've seen that has the factory binding and a 3-way switch instead of a toggle or a slider switch, which is like the standard that you would see.
I've never seen one of these in the wild.
I've only seen 2, and this is the nicest one I've seen. So God bless. Glad I have it.
Yeah, dude, you're stoked.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing's sweet. I was just playing it a little bit. Yeah.
Has that great like jangle tone, but a little different flavor from maybe, listening to the Birds, you hear a 12-string Rickenbacker all the time.
I mean, you can kind of do like, anything with it. I mean, a 12-string is going to sound like a 12-string, but yeah.
Just
I
a
guess
different
the
flavor.
Rick's the most popular. It's funny, I've only seen the Gibson ones. I think they made like I don't know if the one, what's like the popular one? Is it like a 335 12-string that Gibson was making? That's the one that I was like, I've seen the most. I'm trying to think of what else, what other 12-string?
Well, they had acoustics, but I think the
out of the
335. Oh, and the Melody Maker. They had the SG 12-string. Those are pretty sick.
Right. And then like the obvious like 612 SGs. Mm-hmm. Like the Jimmy Page one or whatever.
Stairway to Heaven or something.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know how to play that. I like tried to play that the other day and just like failed miserably. Like I was like, that's as far as I got.
That's all you need, and then everyone tells you to
stop. Which that song rules. I was trying to hate on it the other day, and I listened to it. I was like, this song's fucking
It's a
great.
fun solo.
Yeah.
It just feels good.
It's great.
Yeah, back to this. This is in like the market of guitars. Prices fluctuate a lot, so it's hard to kind of pinpoint what something is worth sometimes. Right. I know some other like more established shops that have a brick and mortar. shy away from posting like their prices online, because one day it could be worth $10,000 and then something happens in the world and then it's worth.
That's kind of like what I was going to
else.
ask you about too, with not getting away from this, but just like with prices of, rare guitars, vintage guitars, or like even just like the year of a lot of guitars, like the price range of stuff is like so all over the place, and like nothing is really like dictating like why it should be that much.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it literally feels like someone could just throw up some more obscure guitar on Reverb and just be like $10,000, and then everyone that has that guitar is like, oh cool, I guess that's what they're worth right now, is 10 grand, and then that just changes the market. So it's basically just somebody going like, I'm gonna take this guitar pedal or this guitar and just price it super fucking high, and that's what it's gonna be worth, and everyone just jumps on that to be like, yeah, we could just make more money just by listing something that's like, like even like the Squire or whatever. Someone saw this video and was like, oh my god, those are cool, I have one of those, like I'm gonna list it for $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever, and then it's just like, that's what it's worth, next year or whatever.
Yeah, well, especially since 2020, the pricing world has really changed, because we saw a huge boom 2020 to 2022 kind of area, where you would even get like the Guitar Price magazine or book, where every year they come out and kind of give you a range of what they think the price is. And you would look at a 56 Strat and it was worth $50,000, but everyone was posting theirs for $80,000, and people were buying them because supply and demand or the hype on something.
Right.
And a lot of the guys in the industry, it's like, it's worth as much as someone will pay, which kind of is,
it's just
good,
insane,
but sucks at
because
the same time.
Like, I mean, it sucks for like so many, like you either have to be like super, super rich, or, you just will never be able to play like an old Strat or an old to like Gibson or something, It's like, you're pretty much just stuck to whatever Gibson and Fender are making now, which is like hit or miss too,
or you got to get really lucky and find something.
Like someone's grandma's having a guitar that she's like, I just bought this to learn G chords on, and then she sells it for what she paid for.
Yeah, which happens still, and it's great when that happens, but then there's like an ethical dilemma for some people. They're like, you're a bad person for only paying $100 for this guitar when it's worth $10,000.
I kind of struggled with that sometimes too, when like a young kid will come over and be like, this used to be my dad's, like try this, and I'll play it, and I'm like, oh cool, how much you want for it? And it's like really cheap, because he's just like, I don't know what but I see it as like, if someone's happy, they tell you a price, they're obviously like, it's usually like a thing of like, they're just happy to gift the guitar, or they just don't know what it's worth and they're happy with that price, and it's not like you're going to change their mind, and like you want to get a good deal too. And that's kind of like where I'm at with Reverb and all this stuff, is like, I only look on Craigslist now, or like Facebook Market and all these places, because it's like those are the last places that you can find those deals, which are hard to find,
farther
but
between.
Exactly, but it's still, that's what I just feel like musicians should only use. And it's like, that should be just an exchange in person, and like playing the guitar and like doing it how, like everybody used to do it.
Well, and that comes back to like my job of what I'm doing is there a need for a dealer? Which sometimes there is, if I can provide value. Your grandma down the street has this 1954 Strat. She could sell it to someone for $1,000 and feel good, or I could help her facilitate that transaction. Trying to provide value to someone who doesn't know what they have is kind of like my job of, this is worth a lot, you can probably get more wholesaling it to a dealer, which will still pay you top dollar. They'll fix it up, maybe rewind a pickup, do a setup, catalog it, do all this stuff so they can get the most bang for their buck. So I see both sides, because I would love to buy a cool old Strat for myself instead of have to buy it from a dealer.
I know.
But at the same time, I would love to make money
Yes.
to live.
I know it's like
So
it's like a
what do you do?
double-edged sword with that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just unfortunate because there's so many. I have a couple vintage guitars, and every time like some new person I meet plays it, they're just like, oh my gosh, like that's what a jazz master is supposed to feel like, or that's what this is supposed to feel like. And it's like, yeah, there is a reason why like vintage gear is
fun and cool
and awesome, and
it sounds good.
Yeah, but it's it's just insane how much money stuff has gotten.
Yeah. This guitar that you're playing through is going through a 1962 Deluxe. It's the brown ones, referred to as brown face. So it's before. First they did like the tweed, then they did the browns, and then the black face, and then the silver face is kind of the timeline.
Right.
I think Billy Gibbons famously played a brown face Deluxe.
Yeah.
It has kind of a mix between a Fender and a Marshall sound, a little more grindy.
They're like warmer. I heard exactly. I heard they're like Marshall, closer to a Marshall than Fender bright, like the black. Everyone knows like the black face sound.
Yeah, it's a classic Fender tone.
Yeah, I have a Super that's a 62, and yeah, it sounds pretty darn close to this, but the significance of like having like the different size amps is like, that's kind of like where you can really tell the difference of the tone of the brown face.
It's fun to have a different flavor. You're in the studio, you're on stage, it's nice to have something different than just your 2012
How much do these
reissue.
Deluxes go for?
These, I think the going rate right now for like a retail price is around $400 to $4,500.
Dang.
And I've been sitting on this one forever. This was a personal amp too.
Right.
That back in the golden days of eBay, someone had it on eBay for, I think I won the bid for like $2,000.
Right.
And it was like all my money at the time. But I was like, I've never seen one of these. This seems like semi-reasonable. At the time, it was probably full retail, but I just held on to it and it sounded good. And I played it. I've played shows with it. I've recorded songs. It's not just like sitting in a basement or something.
That's what I justify, like, my price range with an old amp or an old Fender is, like, if I can see how much the Deluxe goes for, like a new Deluxe, and it's, like, a little bit more than that, I'm like, okay, I'll justify getting, this vintage amp because, like, why not? It's like Fender's making the new version of this. I kind of want the old version of this,
You can buy, like, the brown face Princeton, the Chris Stapleton model that has, like, a 12-inch speaker instead of a 10. And off the top of my head, it's probably like $2,000 or something. And then you could find a real 60s Princeton for $3,000, maybe less, depending on who you're buying from. And now you have something that will probably appreciate, and it's kind of cool just to have something.
Yeah, there's for everybody that doesn't know, the secret is getting just the Princeton, not Princeton Reverb, but the vintage Princeton amp. They're like kind of the like sleeper, like people just always want the Princeton Reverbs, but the Princetons go for like at least like half. Like I saw some for like $2,000, some even lower than that, from like mid to late 60s, and they sound like amazing.
Don't they? I think from what I've heard, it's a different gain staging because there's no reverb tube or something.
Well, that's like the thing with all these old early 60s Fenders and 50s is like there's no reverb circuit, and like anything you put, I think like the more stuff you put, the more tone you're getting sucked out of the amp. That's like the purest thing. But it's like I used to be that way too. Every time I looked for like a Fender amp, I wanted to have the reverb in there because I'm like, that's like the sound. Like I need the reverb. But now I'm like, there's so many good pedals like the Strymon Flint that is I think we're using right now.
Yeah, we're just.
But it sounds great, and it's like you get best of both worlds, which is like, don't be afraid to play the amp dry. It's like that's like a sound that I feel like a lot of people are like afraid of too.
It's tons of records that you're listening to
is all dry.
In the context of the song, it sounds great, but if you like hone in on this guitar left, you're like, there's no effects.
There's no effect. It's like just guitar. Purely the amp tone.
Or you listen to a 70s track and it's just direct into the board.
Yep.
You're like, it sounds cool in the song, and that's what the song called for. So just play and have fun, you know?
Yeah, just buy amps with no reverb.
Exactly. That's
It'll actually make you play better too. It's like that's what you, like if you practice without your pedal board into there's no forgiveness.
yeah.
You're just like you realize how bad you are, and then you can perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
But anything else? I think we covered like pretty much everything, right? Did we
Yeah.
forget something?
No, I think we did a good job. I hope we'll know.
Yeah, we'll know in the comments of
yeah.
how well this went.
Exactly. Very good.
All right, dude.
Well,
Love you. Thanks for
Chris.
coming here today and stuff. And
yeah, if anyone wants to have a guitar or drum or something fixed,
Yes.
or sell it to me, or have me sell it for them, consignment, all those things.
yeah, where can they find you?
It's Lorens, Emporium, everywhere. So, except for Facebook, no one uses Facebook anymore. But it's like on Instagram, Reverb. I think it's Lorens_Emporium.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the handle I use for everything.
Sweet.
But located in Orange, California. But I ship and sell stuff all over the world, and love meeting everyone and fixing their gear.
Yes, sweet. Well, thanks for coming. And I don't know how to sign us out of here. What did I just say?
Play a sweet riff.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect.
Oh, wait, I'm supposed to be looking over here.
No, you're supposed to look over there.
Shit.